My recommendation that the board approve the Oklahoma City Public Schools pathway of greatness as presented, including new school attendance zones, school closures, grade bands, feeder patterns, and school names, and to authorize me to take all necessary steps to implement the pathway for the 2019-2020 school year.
8 aye votes and 0 nay votes, the motion carries as written.
Thank you guys for being here for what I would consider to be a historic day in OKCPS, and hopefully a day. Our goal is that this really brings equity and access to a world-class education to every single student in our district, regardless of their zip code. I appreciate your support throughout this. It's been very much noticed by the board. Thank you.
My turn? Oh, I'm just going to echo what Paula said and add to that just how grateful we are. You know, from the very beginning and along the way, we have tried to see past the process and to what it's going to look like at the end of the road, where we have these trade-offs that we've talked about in our schools, and kids are getting access to art teachers and music teachers and more counselors and the programming. Really looking forward to beginning the work of implementation. So just could not be more grateful. We know that this has been painful. And there's more of that until we actually get kids in school on August 12th and they're running and playing and teachers are teaching and PTAs are formed. Until that happens, there's still going to be an amount of uncertainty. And we feel that, but we believe that we're on a great path now, a great road, as Paula said, for 45,000 kids. The equity piece has been strong. It's been a driver for us. And so we believe we're another step closer to that.
I know tomorrow's day one, but you said over and over, technically tomorrow's not day one for you. You've been planning for this.
Right.
Step one, where do we go?
So it's really a new phase. It's, you know, we've been targeting March 4th for a long time. I don't know if you've circled it and you know, arrows on your calendar like we have, but so that phase is over. We've got the vote, and so phase 2 begins. But as you said, many of the pieces are in place, and so teams are developed, and we're ready just to get started with implementation. We know a lot of that has to happen after kids are out. We're going to finish strong. Teachers are going to teach. We're on the front end of the testing cycle. So a lot of big things are yet to happen this school year, and we don't want to lose sight of that. But as far as teams and prep and organization, we're ready to go. And there are a lot of things we can do before the end of school. So we're just looking forward to the next phase and kind of that day one, start over again. Great question.
I would agree with that. We've done the legwork to get to here, and now starting tomorrow, the board and its committees already have in place ways to monitor the program and continually look at it and make adjustments if needed to be. And as Carrie pointed out, year 5, our policy is designed that every 5 years this district will relook at everything and make sure that we're doing what's right for kids.
One of the consistent concerns I've heard from parents is the impact of 15 empty school buildings on neighborhoods, and I know there are plans in place
Sure.
to use those for other purposes, but considering there are still some existing empty school buildings in OKCPS, how do you guarantee that that's just not going to happen again?
Well, it's a difficult guarantee. I mean, clearly there are conversations that have to occur between the school district and these potential partners. We look forward, again, beginning very quickly to take what have been conversations to date and turn those into contracts. And so as we move through the spring, one of the reporting pieces that the board has asked us for that we believe we owe, not just to the board but to our community, is begin tracking that. You know, we have 15 schools. What is that going to look like in April and in May and in June leading up to the start of school? So while there's no guarantee, our target has been from day one not to follow the model that has existed over the years, or we board up buildings. We know that that devalues. And as we move kids out of schools into other schools, we want to add value to the community, not to devalue. So it's tough to guarantee today, but our guarantee is that we're going to work tirelessly to get people inside those buildings so that it can add value to the neighborhoods.
That is part of the process that started with the board, with the facilities management, was when school closures were brought up 2 years ago, there were no plans, and this board was not okay with, quote, gutting neighborhoods and boarding up schools. And so this board will be monitoring that.
What's been the biggest surprise, and what is the largest hurdle now moving forward?
From the board perspective, probably the biggest surprise has been the amazing community support from the city to the chamber to the media to PTA groups, and you name it. We've had people coming everywhere, offering ideas, giving suggestions, but really saying, you know, we're so glad we're trying to make a bold leap, trying to do something that will really change the trajectory of OKCPS. So for us, that's probably been the biggest surprise. Biggest hurdle is,
I think it's follow through. We have talked about plans. Lots of people have great plans, but until you see things on the ground, implementation complete, those day one ready lists, check, check, check. So getting from here to August 12th, all those things that have to happen between now and then presents a collective hurdle for us. I would add to the surprise piece, and very pleasant surprise, because I didn't know what to expect, has been the turnout when given opportunity to come and observe, watch a presentation, voice your concerns, ask your questions. Whether it is a community engagement meeting at Northwest Classroom where we had 1,400 people turn out, to any number of business forums that we've had, probably 15 of them,
yeah.
where we have different locations around the city and we can hold maybe 30 people and 40 people show up. We've had a number of those, so just the interest, the high level of interest in what this school district is up to has been a very pleasant surprise. We've appreciated the engagement, but it has been, for me anyway, it has been a very pleasant surprise.
If I could spring just one final question then, dovetailing off of that, could more have been done? Could more education with the Spanish-speaking community, even just general, the entire student population, their parents, could more have been done than what has been done up to this point?
I would say certainly. I don't think you ever go through an initiative where you get to the end and you look around and start high-fiving because we did it just perfectly.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we debrief regularly, and we'll continue to do that in the next several weeks. Not a debrief so we can figure out how to do this better next time, because we hope there's not this significant of an initiative next time, but how you do business as a district. Are there communication techniques we need to beef up? Certainly there are. But I will say that from our board directive and directions they've given us through our community engagements, through our communications department, we've hit a lot of things that I think have made it a little bit easier for our community, as far as, the hearing impaired interpretation. We have interpreted for our Hispanic community several different times at different meetings, including Friday over at Linwood. We, in very short notice, we rallied a group of people who could go over and interpret that meeting for a couple hundred people. So I think we did a lot of things right, but certainly there's room for improvement.
If you could rephrase it in terms of surprise, you've had all those meetings at different schools. Superintendent, you're still, I guess, relatively new to the district, all things considered.
Right.
Can you tell us a couple things you learned or that really stick out as part of the interacting with administrators, teachers, parents, even students? Any, I'm going to stretch this out and give you time to think. Any events or any experiences you learned through the process?
First thing I go to, and we've talked lots about this, is the deep, deep care that our parents in our community have for our teachers and support employees and our administrators. One of the very first questions nearly everywhere we went had to do with what's going to happen to our teachers, what's going to happen to our support employees, what's going to happen to our principals. These questions are coming not from our teachers and support and administrators. I mean, they're obviously curious about that. It's coming from our parent groups. So almost equal to where is my child going to go to school next year was what's going to happen to my child's teacher. And that was, wow, that was sensational just to hear that deep care and concern that our community has for our teachers and staff. That was huge for me.
And the answer to that?
The answer to that is that, generally speaking, that we've told all employee groups that we're going to protect employment. So the question is not if I'm going to have a job, it's where will I be working next year? Which school will I be in? What will my function be? And so we were pleased very early on to be able to communicate that to our employee groups.
Now, tomorrow is expected to be the first day. I know that we've said before that it's not technically the first day because this has been in motion for quite some time. Is there anything that we will notice, that parents will notice, students, faculty will notice as of tomorrow? Because we said earlier tonight, these actual big changes, this huge rollout, won't take place until school year 2019-2020.
Sure. So the very first big thing you'll notice is by the end of the school day tomorrow, we will name every principal at every building. So we have been working on that for weeks. Excuse me. And so what we committed to our principals was, you know, they need time to build staff and to select assistant principals. And so one of the first priorities we established was as soon as this vote goes through, should it go through, the next day we will name principals for every building. And that will occur tomorrow. So that will be noticeable. Teachers care about which principals are going to be in which buildings as they make decisions about preferences and turn in those letters of intent to us. So I think that's the first big step. Then we'll progressively from there, we will select assistant principals. We will then begin building teacher teams. We have the windows for transfer and application schools opening back up through the 1st of April, so parents will certainly notice that. We have already begun communicating that and will continue to do so. So a lot of things that were outlined in Pathway to Greatness in the final recommendation, those things will start moving forward now. And I think a lot of those things will be very noticeable.
Sean, you mentioned you have some agreements, handshakes, whatever it is, with a lot of these community
Right.
partners that are going to fill these buildings.
Right.
But then tonight you talked about that we can't really, this can't be part of the plan that you vote on because we can't do anything really until there's a vote.
Right, whether it is a charter school or whether it's a children's theater or a birth to 3 program, we have to have contracts in place that our board will vote on. So there was really no sense in having 2 different votes. We've got to get contracts in place, bring those to the board, and they will sign off on those in a board action. So, and I know that causes some anxiety. On my way from the board meeting into here, I got stopped 2 different times from our charter leaders wanting to know, hey, wait a minute, we thought this was a done deal. And for us moving a charter out of a location that, for KIPP, for example, that we need into another building is a done deal. But we don't have a contract in place to take to our board to say, hey, will you approve this? That is coming soon. So it's really in layers. Our charter partners, those folks will move. You know, as I stated in there, the Harding Charter Prep folks are really excited about the Centennial opportunity, so we can give them some assurance that that's where you're going. We can give the KIPP folks some assurance that you guys are going to North Highlands. We just don't have that as a piece of the structural action that we presented tonight.
Sean, what do you say to the parents who are still fearful about what the plan may do? The parents who may have kids out of school, let's say, you know, my school didn't need any changes or needed to be closed. What do you say to those parents still concerned?
That's a great question. we do not have the luxury to look at a single school that has 500 of our kids and make decisions for the entire district based upon what's happening in a single school. And we've tried to convey this. This is a tough one because parents, many times teachers, community members, they don't look at a $45,000 deal. They want to know why you're doing this to my school. And so the answer is tough. What I would say is give us time. Help us by continuing the conversation. What are the specific questions you have that we can respond to? Some that we hear are, where is, for example, we have an elementary school that was closed. My child could walk 2 blocks to school. You've just closed the school. So the questions now become, where is the bus stop? How far does my child have to walk to the bus stop? Where is it? And how long is that bus ride going to be? And what time do I need to have my child at the bus stop? So all of these questions that I never had to worry about, I now have to worry about. So as we get into the spring, we will bring all those answers to our families. By week after next, we're hopeful. We will have a feature on our online system where I can type in my address and it will tell me exactly where I go to school. By the end of the year, we will add another feature where it will give you exact location of the bus stop based upon your address, and it will give us miles from bus stop to school. So we're bringing those features. It's just going to take some time to get all that in the queue as we move through the spring. So I think it's just be patient, ask us the questions you need to ask us, and then let us bring data and information to you. I think that's the most helpful thing.
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
Tonight, this was a huge vote. I think as far back as many of us can remember, the relationship between board members and superintendent has really been fractured. The board meetings in the past have been interesting, to say the least, before you arrived here. Do you think that this says a lot for where the district is headed, that you really have a unified team right now? 100%.
This is a strong board, and consistently each board member is doing what's best for all kids. I mean, Mr. Henry was not wrong for any of us when he said there's concerns he has. All of us have something that gives us a little bit of heartache and a little bit of heartburn over it that we wish could have just been different, just for a one-off story. But as a rule, this is the best plan this district we've seen. Most of us have been on here quite a while now, that really went across the board and looked at every single kid. And this board did a great job when we chose Dr. McDaniel. He exceeds expectations daily. Like, he is the right guy for the right job at the right time. So
Sean,
we're very proud.
Thank you.
Sean, did you know you were getting into this when they were interviewing you?
Actually, I did. This was a part of the interview process where they talked about, you know, have you ever closed schools? Have you ever had to redraw boundary lines for a district? So we got into this pretty early. This is that one thing. You know, it wasn't the questions about, you know, talk me through how you're going to increase reading and math scores. It was this piece that kind of gave me the butterflies. Because I have, you know, as an observer, a very interested observer over the years, I've watched Oklahoma City Public Schools with great interest as they've talked about plans and closures and doing right by kids. And so now I'm the guy answering these questions. In the interview process, it gave me some heartburn. But so yeah, I knew coming in, I knew exactly, not exactly, I knew the direction that they were headed. And then very soon after I was hired, in conversations with this board, I very quickly bought fully into their vision. So really a neat deal.
If I could go back to the properties, sure, this is my last one. I think it's, you have a handful, maybe Beth, you know offhand, you have a handful, half dozen, 10, something like that, existing properties that are vacant.
Before P2G.
Before P2G,
yes.
correct.
We've got about 6.
Okay, I was thinking something like that. I drove by one of them on the way here, actually, from the state capitol. Didn't know it existed. Dewey, I think was the school.
Yeah.
Utterly abandoned. Does that factor into? I mean, is this a time to re-examine those properties as well, in trying to get those properties brought back up into something active?
Great question. Absolutely, that's been a part of our planning from day one. Is what to do with those 5 or 6 properties. So for those 5 or 6, we look at things like sale, demolition, turning into green space or park space, working with the city. Lots of different options available to us with regard to those properties. When we talk about the 15 properties scheduled to close, we are not talking about sale, demolition, or those types of things with the 15. We're specifically talking about repurposing, bringing people in. But for those, definitely, we want to look at what options we have and move forward with that. It's a perfect time to do that. Yeah.
So those properties wouldn't be sold, they'll still be owned?
These 15,
Yeah.
we would retain ownership of these properties. Now, that can change, but we've had no conversation as a board, as a group of committees through the process about selling any of those 15. We really want to add value to the community through repurpose. That's our goal. And so as we move down that path, if we come to a point where that doesn't make sense anymore, at that time we can have those conversations. But right now we are really strictly looking at a repurpose opportunity for those 15.
The vote was serious on the repurpose of those. Like, that was not a hidden agenda on those 15. We believe in the value of a strong building in a neighborhood, and we're not trying to board up buildings anymore.
Right.
Is that dashboard that you spoke about?
Yes.
That the board will be able to see about being held accountable on the path? Is that going to be open to the public?
Yes, we'll have a public version of the dashboard as well.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.